My name is Charlie McGrath. I'm the founder of WideAwakeNews.com and a host on the Rinse Radio Network. Over the last several weeks, a month or so, I've had many comments come through the website as well as a radio program about, the financial collapse, the social unrest, the civil disobedience. When are we going to see it here? I don't see any collapse happening right here. I haven't had a chance to answer most of you personally, but let me take the opportunity for the people who asked that question to answer it now. If you don't see that we are in almost free fall collapse at this point, if you don't see that civil unrest is happening in our own country right here and right now, then unfortunately, you're not going to notice it. It's not going to affect you until it truly does affect you when you open your front door and you have protesters in the street. And also, unfortunately, more than likely, this opportunity will be presented to you as well. We see protests going on in New York City right now, Occupy Wall Street. Started roughly 3 weeks ago, getting very limited coverage from the mainstream media, and when it does, it's usually backhanded coverage that tries to paint the participants as nothing more than a bunch of communist kids. We have a lot of people who think that it's George Soros funded or some other left-wing group funding this. The fact of the matter is, you can fund something all you want to, but you can't generate the hostility. You can't generate the anger. You can't generate the feeling of hopelessness that the people of this nation are feeling right now. And I'm not talking about the 1% power elite. I'm talking about the ever diminishing middle class and the even more diminishing underclass in this country. We see people who are losing all hope, so they're taking to the streets. And of course, we're going to have groups grab onto this and try to use it for their own political gains. Try to attach their agenda to it. Why should that surprise us? Look what happened to the Tea Party. I was one of the first guys out there under George W. Bush protesting outrageous government spending and protesting wars. And of course, this was latched onto by the Republicans because Obama was coming into office, to the point that the Tea Party is nothing more than the far right wing of the Republican Party. So yes, we're going to see people go out and try to latch onto this organic movement that started in New York City. But it's going to be to no avail, because there's no more hope coming. There's no more kicking the can down the road coming. You're going to see, in earnest, people losing hope and taking to the streets because they just don't know what else to do. The fact is, Eric Cantor came out today and said Obama's $400 billion stimulus boondoggle is dead on arrival. The Federal Reserve said there is no more quantitative easing. Now, you could take these headlines coming from the mainstream media and extrapolate the truth out of that, which is they no longer need to kick the can down the road. All the failure has been shifted to you, the American people, so now it is time, as the president says, to take a haircut, to eat your peas. This is what's happening next in this country. If you want to see the playbook, look at Europe. Look at Europe. Look at the people of Greece who are bowing down to the masters at the IMF and the European Central Bank, and even on this very day agreed to another $8 billion in austerity measures so they can get another handout from their masters at the IMF. The exact same thing is happening here right now. In fact, the pieces are already in place for this. When this jobs bill, stimulus bill fails, as Cantor tells us it absolutely will, we will have another outrage by some rating agency like S&P, and we will invoke the newly created government in this country, the Super Congress. 12 members of Congress, the President of the United States, the 13-body Super Congress will be able to shove legislation through the House, through the Senate, and implement the austerity onto you, the American people. It's not me guessing. They announce what they're going to do, and then they do it. If you don't think it can happen here, then you are truly, truly living with your head in the sand. If you don't think the collapse has happened here, then unfortunately, you won't see it until it is far, far too late. And even more frightening, even more horrifying, even more terrorizing than the fact that the financial system is falling apart, people are losing all hopes and taking to the street. Soon, people like myself or others here on YouTube trying to do their best to disseminate the truth to everybody will be labeled, could potentially be labeled, some kind of terrorist and end up on a hit list. Think that's outrageous? Well, it just happened. Everybody's aware of the fact that the cleric, who was nothing more than an internet troublemaker until they killed him and was promoted to the head of external operations for Al-Qaeda, was killed, even though he's a U.S. citizen, targeted for assassination, and the only person with courage enough to stand up and say anything about it is Ron Paul, saying that impeachment may be in order for the president ordering a hit on a U.S. citizen on foreign soil. This is the country we live in. how far we have fallen in the last 3.5 years, and even how much further we have fallen since those towers fell in New York on 9/11. Stories are attached. That's all I got.